And just like that, we're live. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Speaking Bluntly podcast. This is Carlos, and I'm here with my co-host, Kim, who is the talent extraordinaire with Harvest and Plume and also the Cannabis Session magazine. She's like a rock star. And it's been a minute, so we didn't do last week because of the holiday. So we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And Kim, it's great to be back with you.
I know. I missed you.
I miss you too. It was weird not doing it on Thursday. I was like, you know what? I got a nice full belly. I've had a little bit of Chardonnay. Maybe we should do a live stream, but I didn't do it. I didn't want to interrupt your holiday.
Oh, no. I'll be muting myself throughout this, but my holiday, I was Typhoid Mary. So I came down with just a bad case of, I don't know if it was just a bad cold or some bronchitis, but things didn't start clearing up. And I mean clearing up until like just about Friday.
You know, it's been a bad season. I know that we went through it with two of our kids already. My youngest started first. In fact, he did not even come with us to our Thanksgiving get together because my wife is an educator, so she's very stringent upon, hey, if there's any chance that your kid is infectious or is going to spread anything, then keep their tail at home. Don't bring them. And I so wish, Kim, that other people would do that as well. Because
I know.
It's always after the holiday that you get that message like, well, so-and-so was running a fever the night before and they only vomited twice, but they felt pretty good the day of. So we went ahead and brought them.
Thanks. You know, it's apparently you were right. You were ripe for the picking to come on over and share it.
That's how it usually works. But so anyway, let's get into there's a lot to discuss this week, and you know, a lot of things have happened since you know, I know that you've been very busy getting ready for the December edition of Harvest and Plume and also the Cannabis Sessions. So I thought maybe you could give our listeners a little bit of a preview. So I'm going to jump into a screen share just to make it easier for you to help, and then also for our audience to be able to navigate. And so kudos to you. I do have the December edition of Harvest and Plume brought up. So if you want to just share with our listeners, just kind of like a high level overview so that they know what's in this month edition.
Yeah, you know, this is our first, it's our first year for the magazines. So every holiday, every event, at least for Harvest and Plume until August, it's always something new and exciting. So with this, our first Christmas, or I'm calling it the Hemp Holiday Edition, I decided to focus more on what are the traditions within the holidays that we celebrate. And excuse me, in America, we do, of course, Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. And, you know, not everyone celebrates all of those holidays. And we're sure that there are interesting points that not taking it from a religious perspective, but from a traditional perspective, what is the tradition around? And then applied that to the industry. And in my opinion, I think it came across very nicely, something that you can truthfully implement throughout the holiday season.
I love the touch. I love the idea of creating that same narrative around foods that could be easily integrated into the holiday theme regarding CBD, or if you live in a legal state, like maybe some of those. My only caution to you as I see all this is that make sure you disclose to the people that are attending. Don't surprise them with any after effects of holiday infused products.
Oh yeah, all of these are, and you can actually on that page where it says yum, you can. Oh, you know what? I was talking about the Cannabis Sessions. I'm sorry. At least I think.
I can switch to that too, Kim, just as easily. So we're at the Cannabis Sessions right now.
There we go. Okay. So it's, I guess if you go, yes, this one's okay. So this is the Cannabis Christmas Session. Harvest and Plume is the Hemp Holiday Session edition. So it's okay. So with the Cannabis Sessions, that's actually the one that's celebrating the traditions within what we celebrate in America, and being, of course, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and Hanukkah, and staying away from the the religious portion, but focusing more on the traditions that are found within. So I found it interesting that Harriet Beecher Stowe was writing about how commercialism will ruin Christmas. Don't always give from the heart and make people happy. And and I thought that is so awesome. That is in Harvest and Plume. Cannabis Sessions. There you go. They focus on found a lot of higher education resources for getting into the industry. It's very exciting because University of Maryland, go Terps, their School of Pharmacy. So it's the first master's program in the United States, and it goes into some detail there. But it's very exciting how Michigan, they have 2 universities.
Yep.
And then the page after that is about cannabis courses and certificates. And the courses, they may be a couple of courses, like maybe a certification program within a bachelor's program or a master's, but it's not a degree program. But it's always a step in the right direction. And that's exactly what we need to do.
Absolutely. Hey, Tim, do you mind if I interrupt you for just one moment? Because you're talking a lot about like universities and everything that they're doing. And in one of your posts, you have here Dr. Dustin Sulak. And Dr. Dustin Sulak is one of my favorites of many practitioners as it relates to cannabis. And Dustin actually did his undergrad work at the IU University in Bloomington, Indiana. So
I love IU.
So I just wanted to plug that, and I'll let you continue.
Oh, sure.
And IU is not funding any of our. By the way, IU is not funding any of our podcasts. I just had to throw that in there. But go ahead.
Well, and back on that page, since I had the crud over the holiday, I found it very interesting when I was finishing up articles, and it's talking about how 2%. And that's what the doctor says, that 2% THC is the optimal amount for if you were to use a vaporizer for asthma. Because, of course, we've talked about my son having allergy-induced asthma, and he has 2 inhalers. One is albuterol, and that's the emergency inhaler, and the other one is like the daily thing he has to take. Honestly, but we really don't know. I don't know. They told us, here's a scientific explanation behind it, but we don't understand what's going on with your son, so let's just see if it works. So anyway, so I found this very interesting, that all of the benefits, of course, that the full plant of cannabis can provide, and it seems very contradictory to what you and I would think, that smoking or some type of an inhalation process besides an inhaler would cause problems, and it doesn't. Cannabis actually, it's a bronchodilator and an expectorant. That's what I was going to get to, but because of this. But I find that it's very interesting how this one plant continues in so many areas, and this information has actually been hidden for about like 73 years. I can't hear you.
It's great that I was muted. So it's great that you had this on here because of most recent trending things across the media. How the mainstream media loves to pick up discussion points. But one of the things that's trending right now is the fact that they're like, Willie Nelson is giving up cannabis, and they're like, and they push this propaganda. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but people need to understand, and I don't know his medical background at all. I don't even want to begin to pretend like I do. But if people develop any type of lung condition, any type of inhalant, whether it's cigarettes or even vaping, CBD or cannabis, can create problems. But by no means, and I'm glad his son issued a statement saying, by no means is Willie Nelson giving up cannabis. He's going to like partake in like edibles and other methods of delivery, but the inhaling portion is difficult for him. I'm sure because of his age and everything else like that. But the media just want to plug the fact that Willie's giving up on cannabis, and that's all you want to hear. But I just thought that was interesting tie-in to what you posted here in your wonderful article that's in the Cannabis Sessions magazine.
Thank you. And I find it interesting that, are you familiar with the Swami?
I am not.
He's a grower, old school, way back when, and from the Humboldt, Mendocino County. And so he's very, very well known. He has like, the tippy top of the absolute organic, highest quality. He even uses applied kinesiology to know when the plant is ready for harvest.
Wow.
This guy, he's so into every portion about his plants, not just how they're planted, but where they're planted and in what type of a diagram to create the best energy. He was featured briefly. He was featured on, I think it was weed etiquette. I think that's what it was. And just how we talked about, if you were to get simply back to the basics of the plant, it says, I'll never call it a weed. Why would you call this, this beautiful plant? The devils will call this healing, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I started following him at that point. And so I get his things on Facebook. And his partner of many decades, she has some breathing issues. I can't remember now if it's pulmonary or heart. But anyway, she's now vaporizing. And they recently had an article on why vaporizing and showing the bag and all. And by the way, I really wish that the products would come out looking a little more normalized than these, what's looking like some hippie party. We kind of need some more normalized things. When a dab pen looks like a crack pipe.
Well, that's all about the marketing. That's all about the marketing and the targeting audience on, we run into that a little bit with our companies on how we design our logos and everything. It's like, let's do this. And it's like, well, you got to keep understanding that, like, merchants may feel a little bit about different things and how they want to be. But anyway, we could probably do a whole show on packaging and marketing and labels and all that.
Exactly. And the what ifs and why don'ts and Anyway, I went down a little trail.
No, you're perfectly fine. And like I said, I thought it was just important for our listeners to understand in terms of our Speaking Bluntly podcast and the work that you do. And it's not easy to go in and do a publication. Most there's a lot of work that's behind it. So for our listeners, make sure that you do go ahead and follow the Facebook page of Harvest and Plume, and then also the Cannabis Sessions, because Kim does post the links to the actual magazines that are digital platforms. And I'm a geek when it comes to tech, and I love this technology because the fact that it's interactive in terms of how you publish this magazine, and there's videos, there's other content. It's just not reading. There's videos that are embedded. And I know the first time I came across it, I'm like, this is the future of digital media. This is the future, because let's face it, magazines, for the most part, most people don't have time. And even like on an airline anymore, most people are like, if they're on a flight, they're either listening to a podcast or doing other things. You seldom see people that anymore with an actual hard copy newspaper or magazine anymore, Kim. So I just wanted to give you kudos for your hard work, for your publications for this month.
Thank you very much. I would like to add one thing, though. I don't mean it as a pat on my back, but I wanted to, utilizing my background in training and development and organizational theory. So I wanted this to be a different type of publication. I wanted it to be informative. I did not want to create or fuel any of the stigmas. And I wanted to have elevated conversations. And the focus would be B2B and B2C. But within, of course, there are a lot of publications like that. So again, what makes mine different? I wanted to make sure that adult learning theory was formatted into the design.
Yeah, awesome.
Or the design was into the format.
Sure.
And that's why it's optimized digitally, so that you do explore on a tablet with your finger or with the cursor. I want you to explore each page to find out if there's an Easter egg or where there's a link that's going to take you to, and it's going to open up a new tab. But you get that for advertisers, it's huge because you get buy-in. You develop this bond now.
Oh yeah, it's so important. Yeah, it's audience engagement is so much fun. Now, this is my personal opinion because I see a lot of people, and hopefully no one takes offense to this, but I see so many people that are posting on social media, and every one of their posts is built for audience engagement. Like, what color do you think that I should wear today? and I get it that that you want to build audience engagement in your presentation, but like literally, if you were to spend like all day on social media and answer all those questions for people that are posting all those things, but you approach it a lot different. But I just find it humorous when you see that people that are consistently posting, and most of their posts are regarding like, what do you think I should do today? Or what kind of color of clothes do you think I should wear? I'm not sure if you're seeing any of that as well, but anyway, I just find it humorous.
Like, what are those paper doll games or something? What do you wear today?
But I also want to jump into a couple other conversations real quick, and I'm actually pretty excited. We were supposed to have a guest today, and it just didn't work out, which we can always circle back to this at another point. And I know this is important to you as well, Kim, and that's in regards to the diversity of the cannabis industry space and how it's really trying to build an all-inclusive audience. And I'm very excited today to share and discuss the Women of Cannabis conference that's taking place next week in Las Vegas. So this will be December 10th, which is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I do know several of the participants that are going to be participating in this event. And I think it's a great event, featuring women of cannabis. And there's several executives, advocates, medical professionals, and it's just a great opportunity and great event. So if you're close or you can make it in, that is coming up next week. So, Kim, what are your thoughts on it, Kim?
I'm so excited about this. I need to cough. Hold on. Sorry. I have been following, before I even came into the industry, and I'm just affiliated, I'm not in the industry. And I watched this for 3 years on LinkedIn. So I knew what rodeo I was going to be wrangling. But then after I got into it, this subgroup emerged of women. And slowly some headlines are coming out like the first female CEO of a cannabis, and it was so exciting. And now more and more have come out, and there are a lot of these different groups. And of course, it warrants having a conference, to celebrate all these successful businesswomen who have said, I'm throwing my ring into an emerging market, an emerging industry. And even though I know my own corner, it's still a bucking bronco.
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the support amongst the women, it's always so amazing. And that's what I found out at the Women in Insurance and Financial Services. Same thing. The women, they're like kittens. They just keep grooming each other, and they purr, and they're so nice. Honestly, clearly we're out of high school now,
Yeah, absolutely. And then just in terms of seeing the diversity in the space, and there's several, and I'm very thankful to be connected on social media platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, with several of the industry leaders. And I just admire so much their hard work and the commitment that goes into it. It's very inspirational to see this occurring in this space, and not only from the perspective of diversity and whether female or male, but then also several of the states that are trying to develop these equality programs to ensure that this program in cannabis and health isn't just strictly based upon mega corporate giants or extreme wealth, trying to establish and allowing others to get involved in this exciting industry and space. But to amplify this message and have a National Women of Cannabis Conference, again, I think it's hats off. It's a great week in general for next week in Nevada and Las Vegas. And and then the other event that I want to discuss real quick is also the MJBizCon, which is also next weekend. So the women's cannabis event kicks off on the 10th, and then it jumps into the actual MJBizCon, which is December 11th through the 13th. This is the largest national convention as it relates to cannabis that takes place, and that's next week. And so I'm excited as well, Kim, partly because I'm going to be there as well at this particular event. And so I'm excited to share that. I'm excited to go and meet with industry professionals. And I've worked with the leadership of MJBizCon, and they're very creative on how they do everything. So I'm just excited to share that I will also be have a time slot for a window for their podcast booth. So what they do is they have a separate area for those people who do media that do podcasts. So I get an hour and a half in one of these podcast stations. In fact, that session is Thursday. That particular time is December the 12th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 Pacific time. I've already made several calls and have a few people that are booked for that time slot. But if there's anyone listening to this podcast, it's going to be at MJBizCon Las Vegas or the Women's Conference that would want to stop by and do a promotion of their, like, either 10-minute or whatever it is, plug of their business. Send me an email, because I would love to be able to connect with you, and I'll put all the descriptions and my email address in the description of this video. Just a huge opportunity, a great week next week in Vegas for everything related to cannabis in our industry.
I am so excited for you. And Vegas is the perfect place to have multiple industry conferences. And I hope that they continue doing that, because it just welcomes traffic, literally, the flow throughout the place. It's happening anyway because of tourism. But when they're all there with a single purpose, imagine that would be some tremendous energy saying, were you at the Venetian? Oh yeah, well, now I'm heading over there. Well, come with me. I think that's fantastic. And all the creativity within the booths on trying to garner your attention. I love that.
It's gonna be a fast and furious trip, because I'm like one day in, a full day, and then the next morning out early just because of my schedule.
No.
But I wish I could turn it, but it's just so busy, and it's a unique opportunity. And unfortunately, I can't get out early enough out of Indiana to make it there for the women's conference. But next year, I'm going to ensure to block out my schedule, because I would love to connect with media. And again, it's just an exciting time, for our space and everything that's happening. And as we move into 2020, it's going to be interesting to see all the opportunity that's going to be created, and the unique opportunities with different industries that it applies to either hemp or cannabis. And Kim, that's why I support your work with everything that you do at Harvest and Plume, and also the cannabis sessions, because it helps amplify that message of the opportunity in the space. And to me, hands down, because there's not a lot of publications that are doing what you're doing as it regards to the professionalism and the knowledge and everything that you're trying to do in regards to our industry. So keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Kim, any closing thoughts you want to share with our listeners?
It's the holiday season. It's upon us, and the irony is, Jesus is the reason for the season, and blessings for all. But truthfully, I think this is when we are the most frustrated, irate, the whole thing. So just give people the benefit of the doubt and be pleasant, and hold back on the traffic. It's okay.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful message. And I kind of want to echo the same thing. And as it relates to this time of year, I think we see a lot of people who struggle with depression, right? Because they can't pay the bills. It's the holiday time and giving, and they can't give for whatever reason. So people may not necessarily exhibit or amplify if they are struggling with any type of depression, any type of anxiety. So I always recommend just keep a close eye on your friends this type of year, and check in with people, and same thing with you, is that have patience, and that whole concept of philanthropy and where we are as far as a society, looking out for each other. I think that can make a tremendous difference as we enter this holiday season.
I so agree. How about, if we talked about this or joked about it, next time, right before we close, let's talk about our pay it forward. But what did you do today?
Well, I will go. We can do it today if you want, because okay. Yeah. So my pay forward was this, is that, Wednesday morning, that was yesterday, I was taking my son to school, and, long story short, as I was driving in, this, young driver hit my car. Like, she just completely came into my lane. And as much as my time was busy that day, I had a full schedule ahead of me, and I stopped that frustration level. I'm like, you know what? I realized instantly as we pulled over that it was a very young driver. She was probably no more than 17 or 18. She's probably scared to death. It was probably her first accident at all. And so my goal was to pay it forward by exhibiting patience and, walking her through the process to ensure. So I took the time to say, hey, when you're in this situation, it's your, and I didn't say it's your first time. I didn't want to, do that. I said, hey, take pictures of your vehicle, take picture of mine. You should exchange insurance information. Let's go ahead and get a police report, because that's the right thing to do. So I just wanted to ensure for her, and the last thing that I wanted is her leaving that scene and just being petrified of driving, of, oh my God, I was just in an accident. And, I could have easily handled it a lot different. So that was kind of my pay it forward, was just to, accidents are going to happen, right? They're going to. And so I just wanted to calm her a little bit and pay it forward in the sense of patience and understanding.
That's awesome. Yeah. Mine is, I wish I could have actually followed through with it. But here's my story. So, we've had a little bit of snowfall out here, and we had a big storm, excuse me, where we were practically all snowed in for a couple of days. So after a couple of days, we go out and, you get your supplies. Everyone's at the grocery store. And I saw this man, and he had, if you're familiar with Sanooks, it's like a comfortable sandal loafer type shoe. And he's homeless, no socks, had Sanuk type shoes on, and was walking through all this slush. And I'm on my way into our grocery store. And I said, you know what? From this moment forward, I will always have a pair of warm, fuzzy socks, brand new, of course, because that's a hygiene issue. That's why you can't find underwear or socks at a donation store. So I promise, from that moment forward, I will always have warm socks in my purse.
That's awesome. I love it. I love that. So yeah, so I like this idea. Let's continue it for next week. I think it'll be fun to kind of share these stories with each other. So
me too.
All right, Kim, thank you so much for a great discussion today. And for our listeners, please, again, make sure you go onto Facebook and follow not only the Harvest and Plume Facebook page, but also the Cannabis Sessions. And Kim post the links on there to the publications. Share those. Obviously, that's the goal. Share those publications with family, friends, people in the network. And then also do us a favor and jump over to rogue420.net and bookmark that website, where you can find all kinds of articles that relates to investment, health, advocacy for the hemp and cannabis space. And if this interview resonates with you, like and share, because it's important for us. This is why we do this, to kind of help spread the message. So Kim, thank you so much for a great discussion. And we'll be back next Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Central, and 3 o'clock Mountain. All right. Thank you, Kim.
Take care.
Take care.
Happy holidays.
All right. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye.